putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's Kevin Jackson Show. There was a tweet from Matt Walsh. I made it my tweet of the day, and the reason I did that was because it was so profound. And if you don't know who Matt Walsh is, you need to check out his work. He is his Twitter sign is @MattWalshBlog, and he is a really interesting thinker and a guy that I'm going to get to know. I don't think I've ever spoken to Matt. I've seen his work, and he's an amazing guy. And here's what he tweeted. He says, "Women have penises. Babies aren't human. I love science. Pick one. You only get one." And he was giving leftists a chance to put their money where their mouths are. Welcome, everybody. It's Kevin Jackson here. You should tune into the Kevin Jackson Show at kjradio.com if you want to give us a call, 844-551-8255. Now, see, I love those types of conundrums for the left because they don't think things through. The left are emotional people who go, "Oh, well, this is the way it is. I can be who I want to be, or I can whatever." And they and all these things that we talk about on this show quite often are the types of conundrums I like to give them. I talk about abortion and the killing of children, and I go, "Look, guys, you got to understand. I'm not going to argue with you about whether you can or you can't. The only thing I will tell you, I know definitively, is it is a baby. It is the forming of a human being. Now, if we can't agree on that, we can't have the logical discussion that follows. If you want to make it, I just, put out my candle, that's a very different moral conundrum than I just killed a forming child. So that's the thing. And we have to make them think, or else we lose the battle. And so Matt Walsh, which is an amazing thing. He summed it up in 140 letters or less, characters, I should say, because I don't want to just assume that they're letters, because then I would probably offend somebody on the left or trigger them. Women have penises. Babies aren't human. I love science. Because if you love science, then women don't have penises and babies are indeed human. So how do you pick one of these as a leftist without it really being a moral dilemma? And that's what I love about this. That's what I love about what I do. I had to travel recently, and I sat next to a lady, and she was a hipster, 61 years old, attractive woman. She was in the aisle seat I was on the window. She was in the aisle seat, nobody in the middle. Her husband was in the aisle seat on the other side and had two people with him. And so I don't remember how we struck up a conversation, but, she lived in St. Louis. I was from St. Louis. So it was one of these things where I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And so she presumed I was a leftist. She admitted that. At the end of the flight, she goes, "God, I assumed you were a leftist." She goes, "And that's wrong of me." And all this. And so as we were talking, I said, you could tell that she was a leftist, but she was subtle about it. And she said something along the lines, "Well, but the conservatives," and I said, "So what is a conservative?" I go, "I've heard people describe themselves as, I'm a fiscal conservative, but I'm a social liberal." And she started laughing. And she goes, I've never heard anybody. And admittedly, she said, "I'm not political." So she goes, "I've never heard that term." And I said, "Well, you would probably agree most liberals would describe themselves as socially conservative. Fiscally conservative, because you care about money. You save, you prepare for college for your kids." And she goes, "Yeah, I would go with that." And it was funny because this admitting that she was a leftist, she was a conservative, was like kind of a shocker to her. Like, I am fiscally conservative. Huh? So then I said, but what is the real issue becomes, what is a social liberal? And I said, and that's where we run into our problem. Because I said, for me, I'm socially liberal because I don't believe that the things that liberals believe that they have are there. And I gave her examples. And so it was so funny to have her go, because she was asking me about the black condition and all that. And I go, okay, well, let's run it through. Let's see how it works for you. as a liberal. I said, you believe you can help me as a black person. I said, isn't that somewhat patronizing just to begin with? Like, well, without my help, you, Kevin, would have a problem. And I go, and you could see the wheels kind of spinning like, well, I could kind of go with that. And I go, okay. And so I said, so you claim you want to help me because you give me better grades, you give me affirmative action, you give me jobs I'm not qualified for, you keep me in them even if I'm incompetent. And I went on. And I said, and how does that help me? If I'm in a job that I can't handle, that you give to me, I can grow with the job, but you don't allow me to grow because you coddle me then. You just kind of tuck me away. You don't allow me to grow really in terms of I could start my own business or whatever. You coddle me through the job. So I can hang around based on affirmative action, but I don't really get anywhere. I'm never going to be on my own. You're not challenging me to be really great at the job. I said, same with school. You give me lower grades to get the same thing that the Asian kid or the white kids get. I go into the school. I said, now, if you said to me, Kevin, your grades don't get you in there by themselves, but you know what? We see something in you and we believe you're going to be able to do, perform at Harvard. So we're going to put you in, but you better go there and make a believer out of me, young man. I said, that's a challenge. I said, but if you tell me, Kevin, look, we're going to alter the grades. You're up there with all the other kids. And I go there and I find out I'm not. It's demoralizing. I said, one is a challenge. The other demoralizes. And she was like, yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. Yeah. And I went, yeah. And, so we talked about that. I'm not kidding you. The more things we talked about, the more discussions we had, the more her mind got blown. It got blown. She told me, my brother, he's the only conservative. He's a weirdo in the family. And this is before she knew I was a conservative. And she's telling me how weird her brother was. And he's just gone off the deep end. That was her words. She described her brother as having gone off the deep end because he is the only one in her family who's gone this way. And I said, your brother's not off the deep end. I said, your brother, because he loves Trump. So here's where it kind of began. She says, Kevin, when we kind of started talking about Obama versus Trump, and I go, I don't love Trump. I go, I love Trump's performance. I said, see, that's the difference. I go, you probably like Obama. She goes, I do. And I go, well, what do you like about it? She goes, and so I said, well, let me give you an example. So I gave her the example of Obama saying that Trump could not save Carrier. And Trump said, I'll save it. And I said, Trump was flippant when he said, he goes, I'll save Carrier. Nothing. Like, don't even bother me about that. I'll save Carrier. He said it many times. I'll save Carrier. Then, and Obama, of course, as you guys know, said, you can't do it. He's lying to you. He's selling you snake oil. It can't be done. We're going to lose these industries. Manufacturing's gone away, blah, blah, blah. And he saves Carrier. And I explained to her, I said, within a month, as president-elect, Donald Trump not only saved Carrier, GM says we're not moving off. Ford says we're not moving our plant. GM says we're going to build our new plant here. Apple Computer says it's going to bring back money, trillions of dollars. It's already starting to reinvest in America and bringing manufacturing back. IBM's bringing 25,000 jobs. U.S. Steel in St. Louis opened up its plant in Madison, across the river in Madison, employed 200 people and said they're going to fire up the whole plant soon. SoftBank added 50. So I listed all these things and I said, Donald Trump did that in his first month after Barack Obama. And I said, now, let's just stop for a second. You may not like Trump, but do you like that? And she looked at me, she goes, I didn't know any of that. And I went, I'm not surprised. And I said, so when you talk about a comparison between these two guys, Barack Obama had 8 years and he told us that we couldn't save industries. Things were not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And you get a guy that comes in and he's barely out of the blocks and he's already done that. Which would you rate as the better president, taking away the personalities? And you could tell it was just painful for her. And I said, you check this stuff out. Don't believe me. Go check it out for yourself. And we left the conversation where I honestly can't remember what where she said she was going to research, but It was her last question to me, and it shocked her. Whatever I told her, it shocked her. I'm talking about to her core. And she goes, Kevin, this has been the most interesting conversation I've had in a long time. And she says, thank you. And she goes, I'm actually going to find you on Fox. I want to watch you on Fox. But that was our conversation. Folks, talk to somebody. Let them know how you feel.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.